I had previously installed a diesel heater in my little small shed workshop up in New Hampshire and was curious to see if it would actually heat that well. And I did a previous video on that. I'll throw it down in the description. It actually worked really well, this little Whip Pro, and so I ordered another one. I will unbox this later and show you everything that came in it. I did a unboxing in the other video as well. Now I'm going to be setting it up in there. I already have a wood stove in this shop, and it's a fairly long, large shop. I'm just getting out the door now, so it takes a bit in here to heat it in the winter. Certainly more so because it's a converted old truck box, and so it's all metal on the outside. So it's not like it's insulated or anything. So I wanted to have a better, more reliable heat source in here. And then the wood stove, it takes a long time for the wood stove to heat this place up, and it can get a little smoky in here. But so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through the whole install and the install of this vent kit I purchased. I did this in New Hampshire as well, and New Hampshire was wood on the outside, so I had to make my own kind of flashing extra for the vent, cut out extra wood. I am going to have to do a little bit here, so I have a larger whole bit saw for cutting out the wood part, and then I will use a smaller metal, bimetal hole saw to cut through just for the opening of that, and that will kind of get the heat away from the wood. And so I'm going to work on that in a little bit. I'm just going to get set up, and then I'll start doing an unboxing here and show you what we got going. This is what comes with your heater. It does come with an owner's manual. This is useless. Don't even bother. It does not give you anything really of any specifics to this particular unit. It has some generic information in here. It does not tell you how to deal with the front panel control. Even if you want to do something simple like change it from even if you want to do something simple like change it from Celsius to Fahrenheit, it's complicated. I couldn't get it figured out up in New Hampshire, but I only tried a couple times to see if I could make any changes. I just don't see anywhere on there where you can go through the settings. It does go through 2 different setting levels, and that's it. Nothing is specific to making any of these changes. So what it does come with is the feet for the bottom. Here's a little muffler that goes off of this if you are using it in a situation where you're not venting it out through a wall. I am, so this part just gets set aside. Here are the clamps they give you with some bolts and nuts and the fresh air filter. Here's your fresh air tube. Here's your heating tube that blows out where you want. And here's a directional port that goes out on the end of that. And this is the little muffler pipe, that's basically your tailpipe. It's small. It's really too small for these units. You can buy a much longer one on Amazon or wherever for like 15 bucks. Yeah, depending on your situation and what you're going to do, you'll be better off doing something like that. It is not exactly the best piping, but for my situation it'll work out good. I need to prop this up on top of some bricks here, and then figure out when I'm going to drill the hole, and then start working on drilling the holes. Putting this together is super simple. I put it together in my other video. Go check the other video out. It's in the description here, and I showed you exactly where to put stuff, because there's a little bit of confusion on the bottom as to exactly which one is the exhaust port and which one is the fresh air port. So go ahead and check out that video. That will show the installation setup of this particular unit. fired up now. It's working. I just kicked it down to low for a second to let it start its initial burn off. You can see, I'll show it in a second. This is the second attempt to start it. The first one I had used thinner gauge wire, pretty much the same wire that they give you, but I have to have about 10 to 12 feet of wire or so extended. So I had just run new wire, and it came up with a fault code, I think it was E01, and basically it's telling you that the voltage was too low. So I ended up rewiring that 12 volt over to the battery setup with 12 gauge wire, and then once I did that, it fired right up, worked perfect. And I have the same setup here that I did in New Hampshire. It comes up to a 15 amp inline fuse right here, and then I have a 100 amp, just a shut off. Technically it's a fuse as well, like a breaker. However, I use it just as a shut off. And so if I want to have to shut this thing off totally, and I usually shut them off totally if I'm not going to use it, I will just pop that. But it does have the correct 15 amp inline breaker. So now it's just a burn-in period, and let's see what happens. As you can see, the vent setup went nice. I cut a much wider hole with the wood hole saw, and then directly out the metal with the proper setup for that. I just kicked it up to level 3 to do a little bit more burn off, and you can hear it. Fan isn't super quiet, and again, just like the first video, they advertise these things as no ticking, the new models. I don't see that. It didn't happen with the other one that I had in New Hampshire, and it doesn't happen with the one I have here. You can hear that fuel pump. It ticks pretty loud. You don't hear it quite as much once you start kicking this on the much higher levels, once you start getting to 8, 9, and 10. Because you're going to hear the fan. The fan basically drowns out the ticking noise. But it's definitely not what they're advertising as far as a no ticking. But it works. They work nice. It throws out beautiful, hot, clean air. No smell really to talk about, unless you spill a little diesel on the floor like I did by accident. But that's on me. So, but other than that, these units seem to work great. I'm going to let this burn off for a little bit, and then I'm going to do some testing with my temperature gauge, the non-contact one. You can just point it at it, and I'm going to test out what's coming out of the outlet and test the exhaust vent itself as well. I'm at level 4 right now, and I'm going to test it at level 4 and level 8. I may test it at 10 as well, but currently coming out of this exhaust, we are looking at, I don't know if you can see it well with the camera, but about 215 degrees or so coming out of there for the heat. The exhaust pipe is getting about 240, 245, and the outside metal there is about 100 just on the metal from where the exhaust vents out, which I kind of expected, but again, it's a metal building out there. It doesn't matter. The wood all around it, 73 degrees, I don't worry about that. So it's actually putting out some fairly decent heat. In a few minutes I'm going to kick it up to 8, then I'll kick it up to 10 to see how that is. It's been running on level 8 now for about maybe 10 minutes, and I'm going to quick temperature check. getting still about 215 or so, 212, 210. However, it feels hotter and it's blowing much harder, but it feels hotter as it comes out. So, not sure why it's not registering as much hotter. The exhaust vent is registering hotter. You can see now you're at like 316, 317. So you are getting more temperature coming out of that. The other thing I kind of like about having this unit inside and exhaust venting out just there is we're getting heat coming off this exhaust vent, and that's actually helping in here. Another thing you want to make sure of that you do, two things. One is a good carbon monoxide tester. I keep that one in here. I got one in New Hampshire. The other thing is that when you shut this down, power it off with the either the remote or at the front LCD display, the control unit. Let it do its power off. Let it shut down, because it goes through like a cool off phase. You know, it'll kind of do its thing. And then when it finally shuts down, you'll hear it kind of winding itself down and the fan's going and cooling. And when it stops, then you could actually power the unit off if you want to say to kill power to the unit. So that's what I do. I wait for it to fully go through its shutdown, and then I go over to the kill switch and I shut it down. And I'm going to give it a few more minutes here. I'm going to pump it up to 10 and then let it run for there, and let's see how that goes. It's been going for about 5 minutes now. You can see we're getting about 235 or so coming out of that exhaust vent. Sorry, not the exhaust, the heat tube. And it's hot. You put your hand in front of that, it is hot. So if we check the exhaust vent over there too, you're looking at now about 335 or so. It bumps up to about 340. There it is 342. That has gotten much hotter, so that's 345, 348. So that is producing more heat as well, the exhaust vent. So high really does kick out a lot more hot air. I'm going to power it off now. I'm doing everything with the remote here, so I'm going to turn it off. And now you can hear as it starts going through its shutdown and cool phase. The fans kick down, and then the fans will continue to run. So basically the boiler, for lack of a better term, the heater inside has kicked off, and those fans are basically just going to cool this thing down, and then it will basically pretty much shut itself off, you know, after it gets cooled down to a certain point. And like I said, I always wait for that before I actually kill power to it. It's almost like a forced hot air furnace where you don't want to shut it down when it's, you know, hasn't done its own cool down, because you're going to greatly reduce the life cycle of either the furnace, and it's probably the same thing for these. You can see the heater fan is just kicked up a little bit, and it's probably just going through more cool down phase. And this will go on for a couple of minutes, and then like I said, then it will stop totally and just shut itself down. Before we get too much into this, I just want to preface this by saying I don't get any benefit from the manufacturers or anything from the stuff from the videos I do. I pay for all this stuff out of pocket and to use and test. Some stuff just to test, most of the stuff just to use. So I'm not getting this equipment sent to me. You know, I paid for this. I paid for the one I have up in my New Hampshire shed. I don't have to sit here and give a glorified review or tell you how fantastic the product is. If the product is not good, I'll tell you it's not good. If the product has quirks or has problems, I'm going to point those out. And if the product works really well, I'm going to say that as well. So with this particular video and the other video I did on this same heater, I am more than happy with the end results. Is it perfect? No, but it is far more perfect than a lot of the other heat sources I've used. Well, one last quick buyer's beware on these heaters here. Yeah, I see people reviewing them all the time, and I had a guy that actually, the reason I ordered it was because he did the reviews on them, and I guess he does a lot with diesel heaters, and my guess is, you know, they probably just send him the stuff and hope we'll do something decent. But the problem with this one, first one I got was good. That's like I said, in New Hampshire. This one, there's either a problem with the fuel tank itself, threads, or the gas cap, the fuel tank cap itself, threads. It will not tighten it down. It keeps popping back up. So something is stripped or not threaded correctly. And the only way to contact these people, that email. I've tried everything. Through Amazon to see if we can get a hold of them. Nothing. I emailed them about this. Nothing. No response. Luckily, Amazon being good, when I contacted them, spoke with a rep, they were actually willing to refund the cost of this unit because they can't do anything as far as getting me the fuel tank or gas cap, whichever one is bad. So don't expect any service from anybody except for Amazon, apparently, if in fact you do have an issue. So I haven't been running it yet too long in here. I've been doing it some just for a little bit for more testing, and I will do some more testing with a AC adapter and see how that runs, so I can run it off 110. But I am, as you can see right now, running the wood stove. So if you want to do one of these, either accept the fact that you may be stuck with a unit or having to fix it yourself. The other issue people kept saying with on the reviews, especially on Amazon, was that the fuel lines were kinked. So I went ahead and checked both fuel lines on both of the units I got, just to make sure the lines weren't kinked, so that it actually functioned properly. So buyer beware. You know, if you don't mind tinkering, or if you want to take a chance, go ahead, because they're great units. As far as the design and how they work. You know, I don't know about this company. Apparently the Amazon rep told me it was just a Chinese vendor, third-party vendor, and as soon as you try to contact someone about it, all it says is no returns to Amazon for this. That's the policy. But like I said, luckily Amazon took care of it. Alright, so if you want to try these, good luck. Sometimes it's worth the risk.